Hey, a heads up about this episode real quick. We keep calling it the BBC Dune because I saw that on the DVD packaging. I don't know, maybe I hallucinated that, but everywhere I'm looking says this was made for the Sci-Fi channel originally. This is related to the Dune miniseries of 2000. So, I don't know. I'm probably wrong, and I've exposed my poor Dune cred, but I figured I'd just clear that up before someone tweets at me, calls me an idiot.
Words about books, yo. It's your boy, Ben, and your boy, Nate. And we toxic, y'all. We're talking about Dune from the BBC. That was my British accent.
That was supposed to be British?
I've never actually heard a British person speak.
It shows. Yeah, so I understand you're rethinking this whole month of Dune thing. Have I finally won? Have I finally burned you out?
The challenge here is I like Dune. I like the Dune books. I expect I'll probably like the new Dune movie. But I don't like the Brian Herbert stuff, and I just don't have a way to talk about it without constantly being mean to Brian Herbert, which I don't just want to be mean to a guy every year for a month. So, yeah,
Why not?
Unless you want to read more Dune books from Frank Herbert and just get to the end. I think we're kind of running low on Dune material.
Yeah, I suggested that. Maybe next year we do Messiah and we do
The Children of Dune
God
and
Emperor.
God Emperor.
Yeah,
Oh boy,
that's what I mean.
you're signing
Yeah.
up for a lot. We do the complete history of Leto 2.
Do they have a Leto the Second of Dune?
I doubt that. We've covered Leto the Second in depth by the time we get done with God Emperor. I don't know what else is left to say. We perhaps have more Leto the Second than we ever needed.
Some ominous foreshadowing.
You're going to hate God Emperor of Dune. I don't even think you'll finish it.
Oh boy. I think we should read that next year.
Okay, we'll try Children of Dune and God Emperor of Dune, and I think God Emperor of Dune will beat you. I dare you to finish God Emperor of Dune. You're
Is
only
that where
going
it
to be
just
able
goes
to
off the rails?
Yeah, you're only going to be able to finish it out of spite. I'm looking at it. It is sitting on my desk right now.
So you don't think I'm going to be like, this was the only Dune book that like spoke to me?
It is 587 pages long. Let me just open a random page. I speak of a disease of government, which was caught by the Greeks who spread it to the Romans who distributed it so far and wide that it has never completely died out. Does my lord speak in riddles? No riddles. I hate this thing, but it saved us. Ghani and I formed powerful internal alliances with ancestors who followed the pharaonic model. They helped us form a mingled identity with the long-dormant mob. The person he's talking to has absolutely no idea what he's talking about. That is just every page of this book.
Okay. I'm on board. Let's do this.
Okay. So, why have you brought me here?
We're going to discuss the BBC adaptation of Dune.
It was strange for you to pitch me Dune content.
I guess you liked it less than I did. So I'll try to be the devil's advocate, maybe. So what'd you think?
Okay, so I probably did like it less than you did. I've only seen the Dune part because I was not able to find anywhere I could legally stream the rest of it. But I will say it is, at the time of recording, hopefully the new movie changes this, the best Dune adaptation I have seen.
That's a pretty low bar.
And that's the backhanded part of that compliment is I don't think it's bad. It's obviously coming from a group of people who liked Dune and understood Dune. And I do think there are some improvements to the way they've structured the story over the book. But, oh man, the quality of the production is a little rough. Do you disagree with that?
No, I don't think I can. They definitely had a lower-ended budget.
There's a lower budget. The CG is just god awful. It is god awful.
Well,
Early
to be
2000s.
Yeah, to be fair,
It is like
came out in
Beast Wars
2000.
quality CG. It is bad. It is bad for the time. I don't know. My main problem with the series was it just kept looking. It looked cheap. Some of the casting was weird. Let's talk about Paul, who I imagine was cast because it would be the same actor in the Messiah and Children of Dune portion.
Which is true.
Paul looks like he's 30 years old.
He's like 26, I think.
Okay. So we have, again, the problem that the 1984 adaptation had of this is a grown man who is playing a 15-year-old boy who is supposed to be consistently intimidated and immature.
So how old do you think Timothy Chalamet? Thank you. How old do you think he is?
23.
He's 25.
Shit, really?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, I'll let me say this then. Timothy Chalamet has a much better skincare treatment and haircut because this man, if this man was 26, my initial guess to you was 40. Because this dude is a hard 26. If that's the case, because he looks old, and again they just stuff him into that military costume like he looks like a football player. He looks like Tom Brady. Pull up a picture of Tom Brady right now and tell me that guy doesn't look like Tom Brady. And like I did see bits and pieces of the Dune Messiah part, and it's like I like how they roughed up his hair.
I think he also grew a beard.
Yeah, he's a fine Paul for that portion of the story. It is rough for the first part where he's like super whiny and dramatic.
Yes, he's basically Luke Skywalker at the beginning of Star Wars, where he's just almost intolerable. But I think that they did that because they needed a place for his character to grow instead of already just having him.
I think they did that because they were making him seem young.
Oh, you think so? I guess
I think they were trying to make him seem young. I mean, that kind of goes along with what you're saying, like young, inexperienced.
He does make an idea, a suggestion in council, and everyone looks at him like, "You idiot! What are you talking about?" That's an adorable suggestion. Maybe in like 20 years you'll be.
But then they do
you'll
it.
be ready. Do they really?
Yeah.
I thought they just kind of looked at him like, "What the hell are you talking about?" They just moved on.
So, let me talk about some other weird casting choices. Leto.
You did not like Leto.
No. And I've seen that guy in something before. But Leto is like, to continue with the football analogy, he reminds me of my junior high assistant football coach. And it was never worse than when he's like, "They tried to take the life of my son." They tried to take the life of my son. I was like, I'm really buying the grief and disbelief here. He's like, "They tried to take the life of my son."
Yeah, you did not care for that at all.
That guy, and then he's okay. So this guy looked old. He's got no hair. He's got some hair, which just makes it worse. And the Lady Jessica was well cast. I liked the Lady Jessica.
Does it help to know that she is not the same Jessica in the next two parts? They replaced her with a much older actress.
Okay, that's kind of what I wanted them to do with Paul. Like, hire a kid or somebody at least young looking. Like, okay, Timothée Chalamet, he may be old, but like he's got that boyish face. So, don't hire Tom Brady maybe to be your Paul Atreides. Also, don't hire a blonde guy to be Paul Atreides. Like Leto and Paul are both blonde. And
yeah, why not?
They're very clearly have. Okay, so if you're gonna do this, it's just these little things that bother me, Nate. It's if you're gonna do that, why does every Harkonnen have to be very ginger? Like they're very obviously dyeing every Harkonnen. They're dyeing all their hair bright orange, and
Aren't
the Atreides
they ginger?
They are in the book, so they got that right. But the Atreides are supposed to have black hair. That's like a defining Atreides characteristic. Also, the Atreides banner is a red hawk. And the whole border is red, and that's incorrect.
Is this something that is in the book?
Yes, it is in the book. It's green.
Is it in the first book?
Yes.
Is it something that people care about?
I care.
Okay.
Okay. I mean, these are minor things.
Yeah. Who gives a shit about the banner?
Okay. Thing I liked, because there are actually a lot of things I liked. Like I said, I liked the casting for Jessica. I like the Harkonnens, believe it or not.
Yes. I think that the person playing the Baron was excellent.
Yes, I will say that. That is more how I pictured the Baron.
Yeah, he's not a disgusting, gross, ill.
So I think he's still going to be a disgusting, gross ew in the new one.
But it's not going to be his defining characteristic, hopefully.
No. I do think the Baron is supposed to be bald, but I didn't mind that he had hair.
He's supposed to not have any hair on his body.
What I liked about the guy who played the Baron was
Ian McNeice.
He managed to convey the Baron's cunning, because he's not just an angry jerk. He
doesn't go around spitting into people's mouths.
Yeah, the David Lynch one had him as this over-the-top, screeching lunatic. Whereas in the book, he's evil, unabashedly evil.
And he's got just tons of charisma, that actor. I told you that I watched the whole series, which ends after Children of Dune, because as we discussed, God Emperor is a garbage fire and a train wreck combined. And the Dune Messiah portion is probably the worst of the three sections.
So before we go there,
Harkonnen
I'm
is
just
not
gonna,
in it.
Yeah, I was going to say, before we go there, spoilers for Children of Dune.
Spoilers.
Right? Yeah.
Baron Harkonnen's in it.
Yeah. Yeah. So I knew that would be coming, and he was a great Baron. I liked that because he balanced the sick perversity with the sort of evil genius. I liked that.
And he says, "Who is this? Some sort of midget?" And my wife laughed and laughed and laughed when she saw that part.
I didn't know your wife was watching it with you.
She only watched the final portion, so she had no idea what was going on.
So it was just you, your dad, and your wife. And your wife's that's your wife's exposure to Dune.
Yeah.
Oh my. I liked this is probably the single greatest thing they did that I liked better than the book. I mean, this actually does excuse the hair color and all that junk. Introducing Irulin at the dinner party and setting up a little meet cute with her and Paul.
Yes, absolutely.
That was a huge improvement on the book because Irulin winds up being such an important character in the next two. And even in the books, Frank Herbert obviously says that Arulin was in love with Paul, and part of the reason she was so insistent on having his kids wasn't just that she was trying to fulfill the Bene Gesserit plan. It was that she was jealous of Johnny, and to introduce them early on and have that set up, that was something the book actually could have used.
What did you think about Fade Routha and Raban?
I mean, to be fair, I'm not even judging the actors. I'm judging just the characters in the book as well. Because, like, I know in the new movie coming out, I don't know who's playing Fade Routha. I don't know if they've announced that.
Sting.
He's just reprising the role. If he could still walk out of the steam room. So I know Dave Bautista is Raban.
Yeah, he is.
I think that's good. But the thing with Raban is all you need is just some big idiot.
Well, they at least, like, he does some stuff in this. And he gets swarmed and torn apart by angry Fremen.
That's true. Yeah.
Who he's been abusing this whole time.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd say that's an improvement on the book too.
What'd you think about Reverend Mother Gaius Helen Mohayim being hot and young?
I didn't hate it. I don't know. I didn't hate it, but yeah, it's different from the book. And
in the book it was like, yeah, her old bones. I was like, oh, yeah. Oops.
And I'll tell you what I didn't like was the carryover from the David Lynch movie of the voice. I don't know. It is a real challenge of adaptation. I don't like how it's doubled up and raspy because, like, the voice is supposed to be subtle. It's supposed to be.
You don't find that subtle?
Give me $20.
It's supposed to be a subtle manipulation of tones, worded exactly the right way to sort of hypnotically lure somebody in. It's not supposed to be like this magic power.
But how do you convey that?
Yeah, that is a challenge. I'd forgive it, but it made more sense in the David Lynch movie where nothing made sense. Like everything was just insanity. So yeah, why the hell not? But in this one where they were trying to stick closer to like plausibility, the tooth scene was terrible.
You didn't like that the Baron, he manages to escape and then he talks directly into the camera about how he survives?
I was going to say, I feel like Brian Herbert maybe wrote something. I watched that like just after
Speaking of nitpicking, Ben, they weren't flying ornithopters.
No, they weren't.
Wings are supposed to flap.
So I'll tell you the reason that doesn't stand out to me is because I never knew what an ornithopter was. I was like, okay. Now, and people in the UK, just because I've started the episode probably offending you, and I will continue to offend you. Was Duncan Idaho Scottish or like Welsh? I'm leaning Scottish because I could.
It is Glasgow, Scotland.
Yes. Okay. So apologies to people in Wales. I am horrible with the Welsh accent. I can never place it. So Scottish Duncan. I know Duncan is a Scottish name. I'm familiar with Macbeth. I don't know. Scottish Duncan was weird. I pictured Duncan as like. I think Jason Momoa's, they always kind of describe Duncan Idaho as having like a darker complexion. I don't know.
Jason Momoa, though, he landed a great role if he wants to keep going in the series.
Yeah, they're gonna have to age
forever.
Gonna have to age Ollie up just a smidge.
Nah.
Yeah.
You just described that she's a 1,000-year-old dragon, and you know.
No, I do like Jason Momoa as Duncan Idaho, though.
Did you like the fact that there is very little of Gurney Halleck in this, and there was even less of Thufir and the Sook Doctor, the traitor?
I didn't even realize that guy was Yui until he did the tooth thing.
I also didn't realize that was Yui.
That was downplayed.
I like the fact that they didn't just play their hand right away. Like, it wasn't like, we've got a traitor in their midst, and it's Yue. I like the fact that it was like, we've got a traitor in your midst. So if you don't know anything about Dune, you're like, I wonder who that traitor is. But they missed a step in basically cutting Yue out of the story until his betrayal.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't even know that was Yue. So that brings me to another thing.
And they cut out Through Fear, basically, which is fine because he doesn't do anything.
Yeah, I don't even remember Through Fear. I think I kept picturing like the guy who was playing Gurney Halleck was kind of like an amalgamation of Gurney Halleck and Through Fear.
That'd be fair.
Because before I go too much further along the line, let me ask you this. If this was your first exposure to Dune, would you have known what was going on?
That is a good question, and I don't know.
I
think it's definitely easier to follow than the movie. I don't know. I guess I'd have to have my wife actually watch it from the beginning because she watched just that ending portion, had no idea what was going on.
My reason for asking that is my wife doesn't read a lot. She does not have the attention span for books. But
What?
she likes to get real deep into analyzing movies and TV shows and video games. So there's an interest there in storytelling on her part. And because I'm so into Dune and I've told her some of the stuff, I've told her the ridiculous stuff too. She's interested in it. She knows she would not be able to read it. And I agree. I don't think she'd enjoy it.
Get her the comic book. The Dune adaptation into a graphic novel.
So I started watching this thinking like, okay, if it's okay, maybe this will be where we started with Dune. Now, then we ran into all the problems of trying to like find the whole series on a region my DVD player can even play. But the first couple scenes is the voice. Helen Mahiam's using the voice, Paul's using the voice, and you don't really know who they are or what they're doing or why they're talking weird or what that's even supposed to be.
Magic. It's magic.
And you don't... And I know they kind of throw you in the deep end in the beginning of the book, too, but...
Yeah, they do.
This is more like they can at least explain how the voice feels in the book. With this, and don't get me wrong, I will grant you, this is just worlds better than the David Lynch movie. I mean, they don't even deserve to be compared. The David Lynch movie is a joke. This is at least a serious adaptation of Dune. So obviously, if somebody needed to watch an adaptation right now of Dune, I would recommend trying to find this one. And I kind of wish it was more widely available. Like if this was streaming, I think it would do pretty well. I think it would still be rough on somebody just coming to the series, though. I think it starts to even out towards, I guess, the 30-minute mark. I think you start to get a better feel for things.
Yeah, just like how with the book, it starts to even out at about the 3-hour mark when you're about 4 chapters in.
When you're about 4 chapters in. You're about 4 chapters in at the 3-hour mark. Jesus. So I like that. I like Gurney Halleck. He doesn't feel at all like Gurney Halleck. But
which is probably why we like him so much.
I'm excited for the Josh Brolin portrayal. I just think
hope he busts out some sick rap moves instead.
One of the things I liked about the new movie that's coming out, and I haven't seen the 10-minute preview or anything. I'm kind of trying to go in without too many spoilers. I like the casting. The casting feels really good to me. And Josh Brolin is definitely how I picture the Gurney Halleck type, like the old soldier. Now, the guy who played Gurney Halleck in this, I say he was kind of an amalgamation of Thufir and Halleck because he looks more like how I imagined Thufir. he looks more like a guy who's been kind of sitting at a desk for a while. Maybe he was a soldier in his past, but he's not super fit still. And he kind of advises Paul the way his advice is like a mixture of the Gurney through fear personality, where he's kind of advising a patience that I don't picture Gurney necessarily advising. Duncan, though, they got right in terms of personality. The guy playing Duncan played it well. The death of Duncan was embarrassing.
I can't remember what happens.
They fire a missile at him, and he blows up.
To be fair, the death of Duncan in the book is embarrassing.
He gets stabbed in the head.
Yeah. Like, off screen.
Yeah, like off screen, but okay.
He's like, I'll save you, blah.
Okay, but I don't know how there's anything left for the Tleilax to reconstitute after the missile strike. That explains where you got the pound of flesh idea.
That's why you need to read the supplemental Duncan Idaho of Dune, where it explains his journey as a corpse into the freezer and then into the Tleilaxu tank. It's like a wacky it's a wacky comedy with some slapstick, and everyone keeps trying to get the Duncan Idaho flesh like a football.
It's like a Weekend at Bernie's thing where they got like Duncan wearing sunglasses and a wheelchair as they're wheeling it. Oh gosh. And Paul's Awakening didn't really...
You didn't like that effect?
I don't think this is another spot where if I hadn't read the book, I don't think I'd know what was going on.
That's fair, because I also had no idea what was going on. Some weird shit happens.
I did like the guy who played Leah Kynes. I didn't think I would when I first saw him. I was like, who is this vampire-looking motherfucker? But he grew on me. I liked him.
Yeah, and he's a man, most importantly.
Am I right, Ben?
You know, I have to say,
who cares?
I don't know if I've seen that. Seems to have died, or maybe I've successfully avoided those circles where people cared about that. I haven't seen anybody complain about the Leah Kynes gender swap in a long time. For those who don't know, in the new Dune movie, Leah Kynes, who was written as a dude in the books, is being played by a lady in the movie. And I don't know what the exact reasoning is for it, but I assume it has something to do with the fact that this book was written at the, beginnings of the women's lib movement. And when you pictured scientists, you didn't picture women because that was the times they lived in. And so Frank Herbert wrote a pretty male-heavy book, with the exception of the Bene Gesserit. Yeah, they just wanted to switch it up. What I have heard is people whining about they're doing a lot of like gender and race swapping in the new Foundation series that's coming out on Apple, because Isaac Asimov wrote basically no non-white men in those books, which I think even he would admit, if he were writing today, was a flaw. I don't think he did it on purpose. I think he was a white male science guy, and he looked around and that's what he saw. But since it's supposed to be set in the future, the Apple TV show is making the cast a little bit more diverse, which I hope is what the future looks like.
That disgusts me.
Well, I've heard all these people saying like, "Oh, that's not how he wrote it," and it's like, well, yeah, but are you going to add things like cell phones too? Because it's like he imagined a future one way, and then things turned out different. It turned out that like humanity started, hopefully, I say this with like a big asterisk, started embracing diversity. And why why would we go back? So if you're going to imagine the future, I would imagine a diverse future. It just makes sense from a sci-fi speculative fiction perspective.
Well, you're wrong. Anyway. So you like Liliet Kynes' vampire actor? He really does look like a vampire. You're right. I had to look at him again. He really does look like he's coming to get you. He's got glowing eyes. If they were glowing red, I would run. I would run the other direction.
Yeah, but I did like him. He grew on me. Okay, this is one thing that I don't know how many millions of dollars the David Lynch movie had, but the blue eye effect in this is better, though it still sucks.
Yeah, it is still inconsistent.
But you could tell at least this time they were having a technical problem. They just didn't forget to apply it.
David Lynch had $45 million
in 1984, and he just forgot to put the effect on sometimes. Like in this one, at least, when the effect goes wonky. First, I don't like the glowing effect. I know why they did it, so that it would be like readable, but their eyes don't glow. They're just
They
blue.
should glow.
And
I think that's a step up from Frank Herbert. They need to glow in the dark, if possible. By the way, I think I read that the BBC series was like a $2 million budget.
Oh, yeah, you could tell. I mean, when I say it looked cheap, I know they had a lot to do with a little money, but like certain things could have been better. Like costumes were rough. The still suits were good. I didn't hate the still suits. Oh no, costumes, hair and makeup, some of that was a little rough. Though, you know what? $2 million for all those actors.
Yeah, they get James McAvoy for Leto Atreides.
They get baby James McAvoy. I mean, he wasn't James McAvoy back then. He was just some dude.
Right. Well, I kept looking at him going like, I know this guy.
Yeah, it's Professor X.
Yeah, I'm like, I know who this is. Why can't I put a name to this face?
I knew about that. I have seen clips of specifically when he fuses with the sand trout and
he runs really fast.
He runs really fast. Yeah. What I didn't like was and I guess this goes back to probably budget things. They couldn't really hire a lot of people to do this stuff. It would have been nice to see some more like choreography, some more stunt work. Like I think the reason Duncan, Idaho gets blown up by a CGI missile is because they didn't want to choreograph a fight scene and have a stunt double and do the special effects makeup of getting him stabbed, and yeah, it was a cheap way to save some money. Like I said, though, still the best adaptation. It is. I'm saying these little things like it is true to the book. It does convey the story. It's just I don't think it at the time it came out. I think my review would have been a lot better. But I think it's aged poorly in that...
That's fair.
If I tried to get somebody into Dune today by asking them to watch this, I do not think they would get into Dune.
Well, make your wife watch it, see what happens. Let's do this.
I would first need to find... So this is the other challenge. I would first need to find a version of it that is not like 480p quality.
Well, I think you're kind of screwed there.
Yeah, well, I saw I could probably buy the DVDs. I couldn't get them in time to record this episode.
Yeah, you could, you cheapskate.
I couldn't get them in time. Everywhere I looked, like I couldn't get my, Joe's Discount DVD barn doesn't do prime shipping. Okay, I'm sorry. Yeah, I don't know. So you said you have a nicer opinion. Do you think this would be a good starting point for somebody? Do you think?
I don't know about that. I'd have to try it on my wife. But I generally enjoyed this, and I thought you were going to be a lot more negative than you were, so I was gonna have to. I was like, I guess I gotta prepare to defend it, but no, I agree. It maybe hasn't aged the best, but I still enjoyed it. Still had a good time with it. I think that it's worth a watch.
I will have to say, right now, it is the best adaptation. I am excited for the new movie. We are definitely going to have to get back on the mic and talk about the new movie.
That's fair.
You and I, like, I'm going to watch that the day it comes out. I'll get my HBO Max or whatever.
Yeah, I was going to say, is it on HBO Max? Because I've got it.
I'll go to the theater. I'll go to the theater for Dune.
I'm a lazy bum. I'm glad we're getting rid of theaters. Take that.
I don't know. I want the new movie to be good, obviously, because I think this is the one that has the most chance of getting people into it. I think the BBC one, because of the budget, just wound up being a little too cartoony. It just felt more like a soap opera than it felt like Dune. And that's Dune's fault, don't get me wrong. It is not a book that lends itself to easy adaptation. And that is why there's a bunch of people out there, including myself, who are like, yeah, this new Dune movie looks awesome. It looks like everything we ever wanted, and it still stands a really good chance of flopping because it's Dune. So.
Well, hey, if it does well, he says he's going to adapt Messiah, potentially. And after that, shrug, question mark.
I don't blame anyone for not wanting to tackle adapting the entire Dune series. God Emperor of Dune, I am going to make a bold claim, is unfilmable.
I'll have to read it next year, and I'll let you know what I think of that.
I don't think you'll finish it.
And then I'll write a script as if I'm going to film God Emperor of Dune. Be like, scene. Worm man Leto Atreides is sitting in his cave. He starts talking, and then it's just like 10 pages of him talking. End scene.
If you are going to read God Emperor of Dune and Children of Dune next year, you're going to need to start like 3 months early.
Oh, God. Is it that long or just that painful to get through?
They're both over 500 pages, I think.
Oh, boy.
Yeah.
So, wait, does that mean we might just do a month of Children of Dune then?
I don't know.
500 pages usually translate to like three
maybe
episodes.
I don't know if the story really requires 500 pages. We'll see. We'll start reading it. We'll see what we think. But I'm going to say now, I don't think you'll finish God Emperor of Dune. I think if you got to the end of Dune and you had to start skimming, I don't think you can do God Emperor of Dune. I don't know if you're going to find that motivating or a welcome relief when you get into God Emperor of Dune and be like, you know what? He didn't expect me to finish this anyway. But
oh my God, it's 496 pages.
Yep.
See, I thought Frank Herbert, learned his fucking lesson. God, these are all... What was the other one?
Heretics and Chapter House.
Yeah, I always remembered Chapter House. And Heretics was 480.
Yep.
So Frank Herbert didn't learn his lesson at all.
I mean, I don't know what lesson you wanted him to learn, that my books are wildly successful and people love them.
Stop it.
So
stop doing what you're doing.
Nate, I wanted to ask you, because this is going to be the final episode of Dune Month, I believe. What is your current relationship with Dune? I know last year you didn't like it very much, but this year you seem to be more engaged.
Slightly better, but now that I learned that the next book is 400 pages, it's taken a downward trend.
How do you feel about the weirdness? Do you like the fishmen? Do you like the...
Do I like the naked fishman who poops in his own tank? Yes.
What about... Okay, so now you have spoiled Children of Dune for yourself by watching the BBC one. So, since you've essentially I trust the BBC one to have probably gotten the story more or less accurate.
It was pretty accurate to Messiah.
So, what do you think? Are you excited to read Children of Dune, or did what you see turn you off?
I think he'll be all right, especially if Leto II runs really fast.
He does.
Does he run really fast and like slit a guy's throat?
He runs real fast and he punches through walls and
oh my god!
Yeah, he does the full Superman.
Does he wear a
thing.
cape and he has his own little theme song?
He wears nothing.
What? So he's naked.
I believe so.
But like he's fit, so it's okay.
Well, he's covered in sand trout.
Okay.
He has like a sand trout. They act as like a still suit for him. You had a very positive opinion of the BBC adaptation. I was less impressed with it, but I give it a passing grade. What I was wondering was, you didn't enjoy the books. Did the BBC adaptation of Dune help you appreciate the Dune story more? Because you didn't have to read Frank Herbert's writing? Because I like Frank Herbert's writing. I think it's safe to say you don't.
Yeah, Frank Herbert is, oh boy, his writing is dense. His writing is
I will grant you he's not a
dense
great
as a
writer.
fucking brick.
His writing is weird. It's not good. Like the dialogue doesn't flow well. It's not poetic. He hyphenates a lot of nonsense words. Like I don't know. The blank self is a favorite hyphenation of his. Like the thought self versus the life self. He talks about stuff like that all the time.
Oh, cool. I can't wait to get into that.
There's a lot of new age weirdness about Frank Herbert's writing. So I wouldn't say he's good. I would just say it works for me.
You're into that.
To be objective, it is not good. To be subjective, I like it. But I think that's the case with a lot of sci-fi, actually. I think when you get, because sci-fi is all about the ideas, and the guys who have the ideas are not necessarily like poetry majors. They're engineers. They're, in Frank Herbert's case, like journalist, political scientist types. So do you think like a good adaptation is what you need to really appreciate Dune?
I think I'd like it more if it were a lot more like Star Wars. Like, if we can get some ship battles in there, if we can get some sort of hyperspace, it's really cool.
Have you ever thought about getting the f*** off my podcast? You know exactly what you're doing right now. I'm just trying to see, because I do think nobody's going to believe me when I say this. I'm not a snob. I know how it sounds. In all honesty, though, like, I am married to somebody who does not like to read. And I think that's totally fine. Like, I understand there are different levels of attention we all have, different levels of comfort with reading for long periods of time we all have. I get it. I think adaptations are fine. And I think it's actually really helpful for certain stories like Dune, where I think there are a lot of people out there who would enjoy some of the ideas Frank Herbert is putting out there, but they just cannot get into his writing. And I kind of wondered if you were maybe one of those people, if we just need a good adaptation that irons out some of the wrinkles Frank Herbert puts in there. Because I'm not a Dune purist. I was joking a little bit when I talked about like the hair color and the banner color. I think is something they probably should actually get right, but that's just kind of lazy. But I want Dune to have a really good adaptation. I think that's why I was maybe a little bit hard on the BBC one, because it has been talked up to me for a long time as like, yeah, this is a solid adaptation. And that leads one to wonder, like, okay, why is it so freaking hard to find? And then you watch it, and it's this made-for-TV movie, soap opera-looking Dune. And you're like, I see why this is so hard to find. I don't actually think that many people would get into Dune through this. But in your weird, unique circumstance where somebody forced you to read the book.
Yeah, I think it is safe to say I would not have read Messiah if it weren't for this podcast. I would have been like, yep, that's enough Dune for me.
Would you have ever watched the BBC Dune after looking at Dune, or would you just been like, the story sucks?
Well, my dad really likes it, so I probably would have.
Well, there you go. So would you say your relationship with Dune is improving? You think it's getting better as time goes on?
Yeah, until I run headfirst into another 500-page nightmare in Children of Dune, followed by what sounds like even worse with God Emperor.
But, oh God, we might... Okay, you know what?
Are we done?
No.
Should we wrap up?
No. I was going to say, I was looking at that thing you just sent me, and you know what? Part of next Dune month is going to be, I'm going to look at that. I'm going to look at that lesson plan.
30 daily lesson plans.
Yeah, I'm going to teach, I'll do one episode where I teach a course on God Emperor of Dune. I will do a YouTube video. I will do a digital lesson of God Emperor of Dune for you. But no, what I was going to say is, this is one where you can give us feedback. You can tweet at me at WABpod. You can email us at wordsaboutbooks@gmail.com. If the audience wants us to cover more of the expanded Dune stuff from Brian Herbert and Kevin J. Anderson, if you think there is an interesting topic you'd like to hear me talk about, or something that might change my mind, I think there probably isn't, but if there's anything you want us to keep talking about with that,
Hellhole.
we'll keep talking about it. If you enjoy hearing us talk about it, we'll talk about another one. But I feel like we've kind of...
Yeah, I'm done with Brian Herbert and Kevin J. Anderson unless I decide to be brave and read Sandworms of Dune at the very end.
I just feel like I'm kind of beating a dead horse at this point, and so while I'm really passionate about Dune and I would like to continue making September Dune month, and at least until we run out of the Frank Herbert books, I don't think I'm going to do any more of the expanded Dune. But like I said,
Duneverse.
wordsaboutbooks@gmail.com, Twitter at WABpod. Let me know if you have a different feeling, if you would like to see more, or if there's some topic you want me to cover that I haven't covered. And with that, I think we're pretty much good.
We're duned out for the year.
We're duned out for the year. So, as always, check out our blog. We've been writing weird stuff up there. Sometimes it's about the show. Sometimes it's just about what's on my mind. So that's blog.wordsaboutbooks.ninja. If you feel like we deserve something extra and you would like to help the show financially, you can check us out over at buymeacoffee.com/WABpod. I drink half a pot of coffee a day at minimum, so it probably will go to actual coffee. Now I remember I was like, there's one more thing, but what's that one more thing? And I'm trying to put it out of my mind because I don't want to do it. But we are now streaming video games for reasons on Twitch at twitch.tv/wordsaboutbooks. We will be streaming we will be streaming the story of StarCraft, where I have to go through the StarCraft campaign as Nate explains all of the StarCraft lore to me.
Yeah, and Ben sends wave after wave of men just directly into enemy fire, and eventually he just overcomes by sheer numbers.
Did I win?
Bye, everyone.
Bye. You thought it was Fade Routha here to challenge you. I'm sorry, who? But it was me, Dio.